Devas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Wanted to seek the blessing of Radha Madhav, Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nasingdev Bhagwan, Jagana, Baladev Subhadra. Go Nitai Tulsi Marani, Haridas Thakur, Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, and the assembled devotees. So, we wanted to continue with the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. We are at chapter 6 of text of Canto number 12, which is entitled Maharaj Parikshit Passes Away. So this is coming to the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Another 7, 8 chapters left. In this chapter, the description is given of how Maharaj Parikshit passes away. This chapter describes Maharaj Parikshit's attainment of liberation. Maharaj Jana Mejaya, his performance of sacrifice for killing all the snakes. He wanted revenge. Then also the origin of the Vedas is discussed, and Srila Vedvyas is dividing of the Vedic literatures. So, Sutta Goswami said to Shwanaka Rishi, after hearing all that was narrated to him by the self-realized and equipoised Sukadev Goswami, Maharaj Parikshit humbly approached his lotus feet, bowing his head down upon the sage's feet. The king, who had lived his life under the protection of Lord Vishnu, folded his hands in respect and spoke as follows. Because from the very birth, in fact, even before his birth, he had taken shelter of Lord Vishnu, because in the womb, Lord Vishnu had come to protect him from the Brahmastra that was sent against him by Ashwatthama. So Maharaj Parikshit is a really blessed soul. Anyway, he spoke as follows. I have now achieved the purpose of my life due to your kindness to me. You have narrated the Srimad Bhagavatam and described the Supreme Lord. I now have no fear of takshak or even of repeated deaths. So this is a devotee, pure devotee. He has no fear, even of samsara. He's completely fixed on God. Whatever God wants, he's happy. I have absorbed the supremely auspicious personal form of God. Please give me permission. Allow me to absorb my mind onto the Lord and leave my body. I am now fixed in knowledge and self-realization. My ignorance is finished. So this is the effect of hearing from a pure devotee and listening by a pure devotee. And both of them became perfect. Sukadeva Goswami by speaking and Parikshit Maharaj by listening. Thus requested, the saintly son of Srila Vyasadeva gave his permission to King Parikshit. Then, after being worshipped by the king and all the sages present, Sukadev departed from that place. He did not wait for any dakshina. Amazing. So, normally after a katha, there's dakshinas to be given and prasad to be taken. Parikshit Maharaj didn't observe anything like that. He just left. 7 days and nights he spoke to Parikshit. Now, his job was done, he left. Didn't wait for any payment. Maharaj Parikshit. Sorry? Sorry, Sukadeva. Yeah. What did I say? Oh, yeah. So Sukadeva Goswami didn't wait for any dakshina. Maharaj Parikshit then sat down on the bank of the Ganga. Having attained the perfection of yoga, he experienced full self-realization and was free of material attachment and doubt. The saintly king sat down in yogic posture and meditated upon the supreme absolute truth. His alive air ceased to move. He became as stationary as a tree. Mm. The snake bird Takshak was going forward towards the king to kill him when he saw Kashyap Muni. So Kashyap Muni is expert in counteracting poison. So he saw him on the path. However, by flattering Kashyap with valuable offerings, Takshak stopped the sage from protecting Parikshit. This is, of course, somewhat Leela. Kashyap Muni is actually a great sage. He's one of the Saptarishi. He's not easy to bribe. But the Takshak had to do his job. Right? That was the curse. Then the snake bird, who could assume any form he wished, disguised himself as a Brahmin, approached the king and bit him. The body of the saintly king immediately burned to ashes by the fire of the snake's poison. So Takshak is the most powerful snake. Janamejaya, the son of Parikshit, became very angry when he received news of his father's death. And he had Brahmins perform a mighty sacrifice in which he offered all the snakes in the world into the sacrificial fire. When Takshak saw even the most powerful serpents being attracted to the blazing fire of the snake fire sacrifice and burnt to death in the fire, he was overwhelmed with fear and approached Lord Indra for shelter. Mm. When King Janamejaya did not see Takshak enter his sacrificial fire, he inquired from the Brahmins, who informed him that Takshak had not fallen into the fire because he is being protected by Indra, whom he had approached for shelter. Janamejaya, he requested the Brahmins to make Takshak fall into the fire along with his protector Indra. Whoa. Hearing this, the priest then chanted a mantra for offering Takshak together with Indra as an oblation into the sacrificial fire. See, the position of the Brahmins, they're even more powerful than the king of heaven. Indra is the king of heaven. He's a mighty demigod. But the Brahmins have no particular position, but they're so powerful. Anyway, even though Takshak received protection from Indra, he nevertheless became attracted by the mantras and was about to fall, together with Indra, into the fire. Seeing this, Brihaspati, the son of Angira Rishi, Brihaspati is also the spiritual master, the guru of the Devatas and especially of Indra. He came and he advised Maharaj Janamejaya that Takshak could not be killed because he had drunk the nectar of the demigods, and consequently he was not subject to the ordinary symptoms of old age and death. Furthermore, Brihaspati said that all living entities must enjoy the fruits of their past activities. That's called karma. When a conditioned soul is killed by snakes, thieves, fire, lightning, hunger, disease, or anything else, he is experiencing the reaction to his own past work. Therefore, the king should give up this sacrifice. Janamejaya was thus convinced by the words of Brihaspati, and honoring the words of the great sage, he stopped his sacrifice. Sutta Goswami explains to Shonak Rishi and the sages at Naimisharanya that there exists a supreme reality in which Maya cannot fearlessly dominate. There, the true students of spiritual science engage in spiritual investigation. In that supreme reality, there is no manifestation of the material mind, which functions in terms of alternating decision and doubt. Furthermore, in that supreme reality, there is no conditioned spirit covered by false ego and three modes of material nature. So this supreme reality is, of course, the spiritual world, or even within this material world, where there are pockets of spirituality, which the Maya cannot enter. One who is wise should therefore stop the waves of material life and enjoy within that supreme truth. Those who desire to give up, JD, British Gas, I think. Those who desire to give up all that is not essentially real offer their love exclusively to the Supreme Lord. So, this material world, it is real, but it's not essential because it is something that we are trying to enjoy on a temporary basis. We are eternal living entities, and yet we're trying to seek comfort in temporary material life. So, our real destination, our real purpose is to connect with the supreme reality, which is essential. One should tolerate insults and to show proper respect to any person. Avoiding identification with the material body, one should not create enmity with anyone. Shonakrishi asked about those who spoke the Vedas. So Shonakrishi, he said, "O gentle Sutta, Sutta Goswami, please narrate to us how Paila and other greatly intelligent disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, who are known as the standard authorities of Vedic wisdom, spoke and edited the Vedas." So Shonakrishi, he's representing the 1,000 sages at Naimisharanya. And they're talking to Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami has just given the history of Parikshit Maharaj with Sukadeva Goswami. So now that history is finished. They're moving on to what happened to the Vedas. Thereafter, Sutta Goswami, in response to questions from Sri Shonak, described the divisions of the Vedas. Right? From the heart of the topmost demigod, Brahma, came the subtle transcendental vibration. And from this subtle sound vibration arose the syllable Om, composed of three sounds. Om, greatly potent and self-illuminous. Omkar exhibits the original sounds of the alphabet, AUM. Om. It is a representation of the absolute truth in all three of his phases: the Supreme Personality, the Supreme Soul, and the Supreme Impersonal Truth. So that is the Lord, Paramatma, and Brahman. The entire expanse of Vedic sound is elaborated from Omkar. From that Omkar, Lord Brahma created all the sounds of the alphabet, the vowels, consonants, the semi-vowels, sibilants, and others. Using this Omkar, one second. Using this Omkar, Lord Brahma created the original Vedas and taught them to his sons, Marichi and others, who were all saintly leaders of the Brahmin community. This body of Vedic knowledge was handed down through the disciplic succession of spiritual masters until the end of Dwapar Yuga. So, Omkar is such an important sound vibration. Sometimes it's dismissed as being as the representation of the impersonal form of God. But actually, it's not. Here, Sutta Goswami is explaining. Om actually describes the full aspect of God, the personality, the Paramatma, and Brahman as well. So it's very interesting. And from Om comes original Vedas, or using this Omkar, he created the Vedas, and then he taught these Vedas to his sons. And it was handed down through guru-disciple relationship until the end of Dwapar Yuga. Observing that people in general were diminished in their lifespan, strength and intelligence by the influence of time, the Almighty appeared as Krishna Daipanaya Vyas and divided the one Ved into four. So it used to be one Ved, and then now it's four Vedas. This was done by Vyasadev through his disciples. Vyasadev called four of his disciples, or Brahman, and entrusted to each of them one of the four Samhitas. Rigved to Paila, and gave this collection the name Bhavracha. Yajurved he gave to Vaishampayana with the collection of mantras called Nigata. Samaved mantras designated as the Chandoga Samhita to Jaimini, and Atharva Ved to his dear disciple Samunta. So they engaged in splitting the four Vedas, the Vedas into four. These various Samhitas of the Rig Veda were maintained through disciplic succession by the saintly Brahmins. Once, Yajna one of the disciples of Vaishampayana, who had been taught the mantras of the Yajurved here, insulted his godbrothers, Guru Bhais. He was then rejected by his spiritual master, had to give up all Vedic mantras as he had received from his Guru. The assembled disciples then assumed the form of partridges, little birds, and picked the mantras from the Yajurved. These divisions of the Yajurved therefore became known as the most beautiful Taitiriya Samhita, the hymns collected by the partridges. Interesting. Yajnavalkya then worshipped Suryadev, sun god, desiring to find out new Yajur mantras unknown to even his spiritual master. His prayers were as follows. I offer my respectful obeisance to Supreme Lord, appearing as the sun, Suryadev. You are present as the controller of the four kinds of living entities, beginning from Brahma and extending down to the blade of grass. You exist within the hearts of all as a supersoul, and outside in the form of time. You are never covered by any false material designation. By the flow of years, you alone maintain this world, drying up the waters and giving them back as rain. You are the chief of all the demigods. Prayers are offered to you 3 times daily according to the Vedic method. So when are these 3 times? It's the sunrise, noon, sunset. Consequently, you burn away all sinful activities as well as the suffering and even the original seed of desire. You are personally present as the indwelling Lord in the heart of all beings. You raise up the sleeping people of the world with the gift of sight. Thus you are the most magnanimous. You travel about everywhere, spreading fear amongst the unholy. I hope to receive from you the mantras of the Yajurved unknown to anyone. Satisfied by such glorification, The powerful sun god assumed the form of a horse and presented to the sage Yajnavalkya Yajur mantras previously unknown in human society. From these countless hundreds of mantras of the Yajurveda, the powerful sage compiled 15 new branches of Vedic literature. Wow. These became known as the Vajrasaneyi Samhita because they were produced from the hairs of the horse's mane. And they were accepted in descending succession by the followers of Kanva, Madhyandina, and other rishis. So we're not very familiar with those. We're not very familiar with the Vedas generally because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the Vedas generally deal with how to improve one's condition in this material life, world. And we're not really too interested in that. Sutta Goswami describes to Sri Shonak how the sages passed the Vedas to the disciples through the line of civic succession. So, that's chapter 6. Okay, let's try to do chapter 7. The Puranic literature. Let's see how big it is actually. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we can cover that. We got a bit of time. So, chapter 7, the Puranic literatures. In this chapter, Sri Sutta Goswami describes the expansion of the branches of Atharva Veda, enumerates the compiler of the Puranas, and explains the characteristics of a Purana. Why is a Purana a Purana? He then lists the 18 major Puranas and finishes his account by stating that any person who hears about these matters from someone in the proper civic succession will acquire spiritual potency. Sutta Goswami explains the expansions of the branches of Atharva Ved by the sages, and then he states, the authority on Puranic literature are Traya Runi, Kashyap, Savarni, Akratavrana, Vaishampanaya, and Harita. Each of them studied one of the 6 anthologies of the Puranas from my father, Ramaharshana, who was a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. I became disciple of these 6 authorities and thoroughly learned all their presentations of Puranic wisdom. My father divided the Puranas into 4 basic compilations. The sage Kashyap and I, along with Savarni and Akratavrana, a disciple of Rama, learned these 4 divisions. So, what are the characteristics of Purana? They contain the following 10 topics. So most Puranas will have these. Creation of this universe, subsequent creation of worlds and beings, maintenance of all beings, their sustenance, the rule of various manus, the dynasties of great kings, the activities of such kings, annihilation, motivation, and the supreme shelter. So these 10 topics are usually there. Other scholars state that the great Puranas deal with these 10 topics, while lesser Puranas may deal with 5. In each age, the Lord appears in this world among the animals, human beings, sages, and demigods. By his activities in these incarnations, he protects the universe and kills the enemies of Vedic culture. In each reign of Manu, 6 types of personalities appear as manifestations of Lord Hari, the ruling Manus. So these are incarnations, effectively, of the Lord. The chief demigods, the sons of Manu, Indra, right? Oh, sorry, not incarnations, but they're important personalities in every Manu, with every Manu. And there's 14 Manus in the day of Brahma. The great sages, the partial incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these will always come, right? There's four types of annihilation. We went through that a couple of chapters ago. Occasional, elemental, continuous, and ultimate. And the ultimate is where we give up this material life, material body, and go back to a spiritual world. Out of ignorance, the living being performs material activities and thereby becomes, in one sense, the cause of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the universe. If we were not conditioned, if we were liberated souls, there would be no material world. There would be no need for it. But because we are separated from the Supreme Lord, this material world is for us. Some authorities call the living being the personality underlying the material creation, while others say he is the unmanifest self. Either way, it doesn't matter, because the living entity is, we are stuck in this material creation for the time being until we realize that we don't belong here. Sages expert in ancient histories have declared that the Puranas, according to their various characteristics, can be divided into 18 major Puranas and 18 secondary Puranas. So we've been through this when we started the introduction to this Srimad Bhagavatam. These are the 18 major Puranas: Brahma Purana, Padma, Vishnu Purana, Shiva Purana, Linga Purana, Garud Purana, Narad Purana, Bhagavad Purana. So Bhagavad Purana is what we're going through, right? Agni Purana, Skanda, Bhavishya, Brahma, Vaivarta, Makhandeya Purana, Vaman Purana, Varaha Purana, Matsya Purana, Kurma Purana, and Brahmanda Purana. So these are said to be the major 18, which contain all of those 10 subject matters. The Bhagavad Puran, however, is considered the highest because it deals exclusively with Krishna. Right? Most of this Bhagavatam is Krishna related, or his avatars. Sutta Goswami states, I have thoroughly described to you, O Brahman, the expansion of the branches of Veda by the great sage Vyasadeva, his disciples, and the disciples of his disciples. One who listens to this narration will increase in spiritual strength. So, let's make a stop there. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna, anyway.
all this, yes, Hare Krishna, all this Vedic literature must be somewhere compiled in the original form.
Yeah, well, a lot of it is lost. There's pockets of it, the Rig Veda, and mainly in South India, they have still got some of these original Veda and preserved, and actually they are good in learning and teaching others and reciting these mantras. But generally speaking, a lot of it is lost over time.
Yeah.
And we're talking about like billions of verses. It's a very huge compilation of literature, which in many ways is very hard to read, to absorb. And a lot of the Vedas, they deal with how to please the devatas to get material benedictions. So in many ways, we are lucky that we don't have access to that because it will divert our attention. So I think we're fortunate that we have access to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Puran, because those are spiritual scriptures. So,
I wonder how Bhagavad Puran survived.
It's true. Because it's so important, I think the sages over time, they would preserve this Bhagavad Puran and the Bhagavad Gita. They knew the importance of it. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was looking for an authentic copy of the Bhagavatam for a long, long, long time. And eventually he found it.
Hmm.
So he in one sense, we were very lucky that Prabhupada has translated this Bhagavatam. It's so readily accessible now. But we are fortunate because the previous sages, some of them preserved this Bhagavatam, but then even then, it was hard to find, right? And like I said, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he spent a long time looking for it, and eventually he found it.
And also the way that it was written, because it wouldn't be in the normal books. It must be
Yeah,
on leaflets or something like that, isn't on the leaves?
exactly right.
Oh,
Exactly right. And then, yeah, and then even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I think it was Gadadhar Pandit, he had a copy of the Bhagavatam, but his tears had washed away most of the writing because he was always crying when he was reading the Bhagavatam. He was so affected by it. So eventually they had to get that rewritten, by hand.
yeah.
So they didn't have photocopiers. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it? All this literature that we had.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're very lucky even to have what we've got. And
Mm,
that's why Prabhupada, he spent, like decades on translating. He would spend some whole night, and then he'd get a couple of hours sleep in the morning and then do his, everyday activities of preaching. But then at night he would translate. And this is the blessing he's given us, the Bhagavatam.
yeah,
Mm.
blessing. Yeah, we got everything from him then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
He's
Prabhuji.
fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Naniman. Thank you. And thank you
Hare,
for your interest. Yeah. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Robin. Hare Krishna.
I found it difficult today.
Yeah, it's not easy. These chapters, these last few chapters.
I really found. I mean, to be honest with you, you was just reading. I was thinking why it's not getting in my head. And then the Mataji said, I
Mm.
think the English literature is a bit high for me. It's not easy to understand, or is it me?
No, it's not you. It's the nature of this topic.
Yeah, we
This is
can't
quite
understand it.
complex.
No?
Yeah, this is quite
Not
so.
you, Mataji. We can't, very difficult to get all this into our head.
And I
Yes,
mean,
Naniman.
second thing is, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No.
Mataji, um, is this written in Vedas or is it written in English or is it written in
Sanskrit.
another language?
Sanskrit.
This is original Sanskrit.
This is originally Sanskrit. All we have done is like these in chapter 7, these verses here, 22, these 4 verses, we have just made a summary of it. But you can
Okay.
go to the original text
Yeah.
and read the Sanskrit. That's a
Oh,
lot harder.
lot harder. That's why I was thinking, why can't I? If it's simple English, you can really
Mm.
understand it. But
But these subject matters are not simple. Uh,
yeah,
these are tough.
tough. Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, thank you,
Thank
Prabhuji.
you very much. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Then even anything else you wanted to add? Okay, so we can stop there. Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai.